How many of you know one-to-many relationship? When do we say one-to-many, what does it mean? One-to-many relationship. What kind of a structure or what kind of entities you will call it like, yeah, this is one-to-many? Any
One
example?
primary key
Hmm.
belongs to multiple tables.
Right. So this is specifically to table. Any example? The remaining people? One-to-many relationship. Which scenarios you will call, okay, this is one-to-many relationship? Array. One customer will have multiple orders, right? So for one entity, you have some dependent record, which is multiple. Getting it? One customer will have multiple addresses, correct? In Amazon or Flipkart, you can add multiple addresses. One employee will have multiple family members, correct? Something is one is entity, one is we have one entity, and for that one entity, there are multiple records. Let's say we have an employee will have multiple skills, correct? Like this. Understood what is one-to-many I'm talking about? Clear, everyone?
Yes.
Okay. Now, while working on the project, normally when we have so many time this kind of a scenario will come. We have one-to-many relationship and all. Okay. So API also should be like that. Let's say you are working on an employee management application where one-to-many relationship is there. You have some scenario where one-to-many. Let's say employee onboarding application. You are onboarding, you have an employee form, and in that employee form, you have employee details, which is single, and his skills are multiple, his family details are multiple, his documents may be multiple, right? So many things can be multiple. So your API will also be like that. Okay. Currently, I didn't find any hosted API, so I'm running a local API. There, I will show you one example. Uh, where we created that. From backend people, where we created one-to-many.
Visits descriptions.
Here, customer. So here you can see I have an API which will allow you to create a customer. But now in the payload, you can see customer ID, name, email, mobile. And in address field, you have object. See? And one by one more object you can pass: address ID, customer ID, title, city, pin code, and address. Means one customer will have multiple addresses. At the time of creating customer, you can add multiple addresses for a particular customer. Understood? So whenever we talk about one-to-many relationship, you will have a payload of post API like this. This is one-to-many relationship. Okay. Let's test it. Write out. Let's say Tanmay, email, mobile number 1122334455. Title, let's say this is his home address. Address title, Pune. Two two three three four four. Something address near SBI Bank. Okay. This is one address. Let's say he want to add his office address also. Comma, first object, comma, second object. Okay. Second address, let's say office address. His office address is adding. Pune only, pin code is something else. Viman Nagar. Okay. So we are trying to create a customer who has two addresses. One is his home address and another is his office address. On click of execute. It is not on. Yeah. So it got created. So ID is customer ID is created as 4. Okay. Now, if you check the Gate API, in Gate API, you will just get the customer detail because addresses are multiple. So in Gate API, you won't get that. See, customer detail is there. Now, let's say this API you integrate into the table and on click of edit, you will pass this ID and you will get the whole data. So here I'm passing, this is customer by customer ID. See, customer data and his addresses. Understood the scenario? So whenever you have one-to-many relationship, like this API will work. You will have post API, which will accept single data and some multiple data also. In Get API, you will just get the single data, not the multiple one, single data. And on click of edit, you will call this API, then you will get the whole address. Then your form should populate again. Clear all? This is your one-to-many relationship, what we call. So in reactive form, we can achieve this scenario very easily. Okay. So there is that concept like form array. Okay. So let me create this. I have created a component. Go to the route form array. Say GS. So if your project has some API where you have a data, that API expects something like this, so you have to go for a reactive form, and using form array, you can achieve it more properly. Again, it's not like with the form array only. With signal based form also and with template also, you can do that. But form array has something by default to handle this scenario. In template form also, we can complete that, but you have to write a custom code. Everyone will write something different. But with reactive form, there is only one way to achieve this. Something default they have provided, that is form array. Okay. Now here, so I will need the form. I will show you if we had form also. Download. Yeah. So this is kind of a form I'm talking about. With this, we created this for JavaScript. So here you will provide single detail, then one by one customer you will add like this. Means addresses will be multiple. So you will have a object, you will have a form for providing a single customer detail and all the multiple addresses over here. On click of save, you will pass the whole object, this data and this array also. Because that's what your API is, right? Single data and multiple addresses. So something like form, something like this you will need. Okay. So let me get this UI only. One wait. Copy. Paste. Is it breaking somewhere? Okay. And app route. Save. It's not loading. Form array. This is my route name. it. Okay. So this is your UI. This is your form, and at the bottom you will have the list. Okay. We don't need this customer ID. So if your API is like this, where you can expect some single data and some multiple data, right? So you need form also something like this, where you can add some single data and multiple data. So add address, you are able to add multiple addresses. Okay. Now, so here we got the form. So this we don't have to do anything, but on click of add, multiple addresses should be added. So that we do from the reactive form. Now, your payload is like this. Let's reset it. Your payload is like this. So now you have to create a reactive form for this. Okay. So let's copy, go to your .ts. Okay. So your payload is like this. Now you have to create a reactive form your array. So let's import reactive form module. Okay. Then your customer form colon your form group. Okay. I will be using that form builder service. Inject form builder. Okay. Then we will create a function create form. Let's add undefined to it. Now in this form, first we have to create the parent field, right? Customer ID, name, email, mobile, and address. These are your parent field. Okay. So this dot customer form is equal to this dot your form builder dot group round bracket and curly bracket your first control name, that is customer ID, cust ID, empty. Customer ID is your primary key, so you will initialize with 0. Then name, it's a string value, so initialize with empty. Just email, mobile, and address. Now in address, we are expecting array of object. So here, instead of initializing with empty, here it is going to be form array. So this dot form builder dot array. So here you are specifying what you have in this. In address control, what you have? Form array. Okay. So then you create one more method to add family member, sorry, what do we call it? Address. Address is a multiple. So here we will create one more function. Add new address. From here, you have to create a form for this. From in this function, what you are going to create? You are going to create a form for this nested object, the dynamic one. So here, and you are going to simply return. So return this dot form builder dot group round bracket curly bracket address ID. It will be 0. Then customer ID, title, city, pin code, and address. Okay. So we have created two functions. One, we have just created one form, that is customer form, and we have added all the parent properties, right? In the object, we had parent properties, customer ID, name, email, mobile, and the addresses. But in the address, we had multiple ones. So here we created like this form builder dot array. Then we created one more function, create new address. And inside this, what do you have? You are just creating a nested form, that customer form, and you are simply returning it. So whenever you need to create a customer form, so you will call this function. Okay. Now, in constructor, on the page load, I have to initialize this form. So this function, I will call it over here, this dot this, like this. Now on the page load, if you check the example on the page load, here we need one form by default open, one address by default open. Okay. So for that, this function inside this reactive form, you have addresses, and this function will give you the address form. So you have to call this function, whatever you call that you need to push it over here. It's an array. Address is an array. So it needs form object, reactive form object, and that you need to push it over here. So by calling this function, you just initialize your form, but at that time address is empty. Now this dot customer form dot address, you need to push this one address. Okay, but directly that method won't come. See, if after initializing your form, let's say you said like customer form dot controls square bracket and your address dot push, nothing is coming. Push or add. See, methods are not coming because at this time, what is this address? Just control. So on control, you won't get add or push method. So for that, you have to create a getter method. Okay. It's like a function, but it will act as a method. Sorry, property. Get your customer address. Okay. It's a function, but it will act as a property. What you are going to return from this form array. Okay. Curly bracket. Return. What you are going to return? Same thing what you have written over here. Na? Wait, I removed it. We just need instance of this address from this reactive form. So this dot customer form dot, we have get method also. Either you write square bracket that or get method. Your address control over here. But here you need to provide a data type as form array. So you are specifying what you have in this control. From this reactive form in this specific control, what you have? It's a form array. Okay. Now, whenever you need the address from the reactive form, so you will use this method. Okay. So now here, once your form is created, after that, what do we call it? We just call this method we have, which will return this. Okay. So this dot customer address dot push. See, now push method is coming. Directly, if we access this, see, directly if we access this, that push method is not coming because data type is not data type. What is that? What do we have it over there? That is missing. At this time, this is just a simple control. That's why we have created a get method and we are specifying properly data type. What do you have in address? Okay. Now here, what you need to do, you need to call this function add new address because that function is returning a form that we just need to push it to customer address. So add new address. Okay. So this is what we have done. So you created a customer form. You created one function where you initialize all the field from your parent field. Customer ID, name, email, address, and the mobile and the address. In address, you have form array of objects. So that's why you have said like this. In this, you have this dot form builder dot array. Then you created another function for the child. Another, the dynamic one. Address of address ID and everything over here. But this is returning it. This function is returning the form. Then you created get method to read particular address from this form. And in constructor, you call this function to initialize your parent form. Then you add whatever this form return. This function returns a form and that you are pushing it over here. So let's add it on over here and check it. Okay, how do you get it? So some states are little bit confusing. So many steps will be there. Reload. Okay. Now, if you hover on this dot customer address, so in the control, you can see address is currently empty. See, remaining, these are your individual control, customer ID, email, mobile, but address is an array. Here you can see control is empty. Then on this line, what you are calling in customer address, you are pushing whatever this function return. Once this line execute, again, you see control address. See, now you got one form. Understood? Previously, this was empty. Now you have one form over here. So your one single form with one address is ready. Let's try calling this function 2 times. So 2 addresses will be by default. Now, if you check the customer form address, see 2 forms are there. First form, second form. Again, in each form, see controls, address, title, and everything. Understood? So this will be your structure of your reactive form with one to many. In form array, you will get array of controls like this. But in each control, you will have another form. Okay. So your .ts code is ready. Now you have to bind it to the HTML. So binding it to the HTML is also little bit new. You might not have seen something like this. So where this is your parent field, now. Where is form? Where your form is not there. Call it. So here I will add the form tag. This we will close at the end. Okay. Now in first call for, we just have a single field, right? So here first you will bind your form group is equal to your customer form. Okay. Then here you just need to bind single field, the form controller one. Form control name is equal to name. So name field will go over here. We copy paste email, mobile, email, and mobile. Just the parent field, whatever the parent field you have. Okay. Then here, this whole, oh my God, wait, let me copy that. So here we need the form, or let's create it, tr, td with multiple text box you need. In this td, you need input type text. So you will have multiple text box over here. Okay. So this has to be repeated. How many times? How many addresses you want to add? Means basically in this control, in this address array, how many arrays you have, that many times your tr should get repeated. Okay. So to do that, now in your customer form, this address is a, what do we call it? Dynamic. So here, this is your form array. So that you need to bind it over here. So on this, let's say this div, I will bind form array. This is not the repeated thing, right? This is what we are repeating. So let's bind form array over here on the T body. Form array name equal to, what is your form array name? Address. So this address, you will bind it over here. It's like a control, but it's a form array. Inside this control, what you are storing? Address. Okay. Now here, tr has to be repeated. So here I'm going to use ng container. Why I'm using ng container? Because we are in table T body. If it was simple row, so I would have created another div. Now, this container I will repeat directly. Okay. So over here, you need all the array from this. So to get that, how do you read the addresses? We have already created this get method. So here, let's import our ng for star ng for, we write it item let address of your get method. This is the get method which gets you all the addresses from your customer form. So this you will call it over here. Why it is giving error? Okay, dot controls. Okay. See, this customer address, it's a met function, but since we added get, we are accessing it as a property. See, no execution. Okay. And each this form address will have multiple form. You know, we have seen multiple forms are there. So we need to uniquely identify each form also. So for that, here you will add a form group name also. So first you need let I is equal to index. We need index, then form group. Why it's not suggesting form group name? Form group name equal to I. Okay, now it is coming. So each form, because this is a dynamic form, so each form also we have to uniquely identify. So that's why we are giving form group name and simply I. So that 0, 1, 2, something unique we need. Now inside this, you just bind your normal form controller name. But the inner field, the nested one, address one. So from here, title, then city, pin code, and address. Save. So what we did, at the top, we binded our customer form. Okay. Then the things which were single, we bind it like this, normally what you know. Then the field, which the UI, which was getting repeated, first we have binded that over here. On the T body, we have added form array name. Keep from customer form, what is the form array field? Address control. Then we had to iterate on the addresses. So we have created a get method dot controls. We get the index, and that index we added it over here. And the repeating one, we have added the form controller name of the address. Just by doing this, see now. Something is breaking. Oh no, it came down. Why it came down? Address. It didn't change UI or something. Because we add the form. Let's move it to the top because row got on the top. Save. So see, you got two forms by default open. Why? Because initially we called this 2 times. If you remove this one, now only one form will be by default. See. Let's say on click of add, you need to add one more form. So what you will do? You will create one more function, add customer form. So what you need to do? This line, you need to call it over here. And this function, you will call it on the add button click. Click. And this function, you will call it over. So see now, on click of add, multiple forms are getting populated. So you can add one customer detail and you are adding multiple addresses. Understood what we did? So this is where basic form array example. Steps are a little bit more compared to very basic, the normal reactive form. And then in the HTML, this is very straightforward, which you already know. Just here, these things will change. Form array you need to bind, and you need to iterate whatever the form is there, which is dynamic, that you iterate like this. And inside this, you will bind the dynamic one, control, cities, address, all that. Okay. Now, on click of save, to the save button. Yeah. Save customer. Now, on click of save customer, you should get the proper object also. Yeah, customer detail is single and addresses are multiple. So constant form value. Just by getting the form value, you will get that object. Customer form dot value. Save. Okay. Let's add a title. Home. Or pin code 009900. One address. Then second address. Let's say Pune's address. Third address. Let's say office address. Okay. Now on click of save, we added the debugger, right? Yes. So on click of save, you should get a single data of the customer and multiple addresses. 3 addresses we should get. See, single data of customer and in address, you can see multiple addresses. Manewada, Nagpur, Chandan Nagar, Viman Nagar. So whatever you add it over here, that you got it over here. And this is what your API expect. You can pass it to the API. Understood?
But
I
its
do.
address customer ID is going 0.
Customer ID is not created. No? That is a primary key that will get inserted in the API. We just need to pass 00 only. In the API, it will create, no? And that foreign key, that primary key, I will use it over here to insert. We don't have to worry on the UI side. Okay. Clear all? Now, this was the benefit. By using reactive form, you get this without doing anything. But if it was a template form, you have to manually form an object like this by writing custom code. In reactive form, we have it automatic. Okay. Let's quickly integrate the API also, so I can show you the complete demo. I will try to host it somewhere so that you can also practice. HTTP. This dot HTTP dot post. Object. do the save API. Okay. Just like this, I need get API that we will bind it to the table. Get customers. So in get API, you don't get the addresses, just the customer data, because addresses are multiple. So how you will call it? Get. Let's create a signal to store it. Customer list. Dot customer list dot set res, and this we need to call it on the page load. Implements on init, mg on init. Okay. One thing I would like to share. Last batch we had Suchit. So yesterday he had that Capgemini face-to-face round. One was virtual, then second was face-to-face. Okay. So there they have provided once the basic things are done, theoretical one done, they have asked him to just create a normal form with template and normal form with reactive form. They have provided APIs on their system only. Template form, same thing, validation, API call integration, add, update, delete everything, and same thing with reactive form also. That's it. That was his machine test. Okay. And then sub question they ask him that if you want to make it dynamic, so that config and everything. They didn't ask him to implement, but he explained, and that day only he got the offer also after HR. So be comfortable with writing at least basic API call integration. When you visit some companies, they don't let you use Google and everything, right? Someone will be there who will be asking code of how you are writing it, what you are writing it. Okay. So be comfortable with at least basic CRUD. Yeah, without previous example, you should be able to write everything from API call, creating form, designing HTML and everything. That much comfortable you should be. Okay. Now, whatever the data you get, that you have to bind it into the table at the rate for loop, customer list, tr, dd, $index +1, dd, item dot, what things are there? Just name, email, and mobile. Name, email, and mobile. And here you will have edit button. Edit. Okay. Let's save it. Let's save it and let's check now. Okay. So existing customers are coming. Now let's try to save API call is also in place, right? After save, I will call this function alert customer saved. And after that, I will call get API so that latest data should be visible. Okay. Omkar. Let's put some mobile number. Let's say home address. . One address, second address, he's adding office address. Okay. Might be Path, Pune, its pin code. Okay. On click of save customer, there will be one API to save the customer. After that, get API. Save. You got the whole object, one customer detail and multiple addresses. Let's add a debugger, continue. Yeah, customer got saved, customer ID is 5, and then get API. So you can see data is also coming. Now, let's say you want to edit. Okay. Now on click of edit, what should happen? On click of edit, what should happen? What should be your code? What you have to do on click of edit,
Customer data with addresses.
right? Whatever the customer data that should populate over here and how many addresses are there, that means this should get repeat. Correct or no? So how you will make that happen? Considering this is your code of your reactive form, how you will do it? Let's say, first you need to make the API call on click of edit because in the table you don't have addresses and all. So you need to make API call on edit. You will pass item dot cust ID over cust ID, no? Yeah, cust ID over here. This function you will call and your get API by ID you will call. Numbers. Where's the other call? Get customer by ID. Copy. Here instead of static 4 plus ID. Okay. And here you will get the whole customer data, means customer single data and addresses multiple. Okay. Now, what you need to do? How you should bind your form data, that customer data will be also visible and how many addresses are there, that also will populate properly. That many TR should get.
Set value.
Right. So set value you can do. But here you can see you don't have a single detail. Na? In this, you have addresses also. So what you can do, first you will do the patch where you will pass just this field, 4 field. Okay. So customer form, this dot customer form dot patch value. When do we use patch value?
Some field need to pass.
Right? Limited things. So this 4 field, I will copy, put it over here, and there result dot, how we are getting it directly. Okay. Result dot customer ID. We are just creating an object that we will pass it over there. Name, email, and mobile. Let's format and let's just check in over here. Your customer detail at least populating or not. Okay. Save all. So on click of edit, see customer details are getting populated. Getting it? See over here, form value is getting changed. Now addresses. Now addresses is multiple, right? So in this customer form addresses, we have to add it multiple. Now we have a function which will create your address form. Now here, either you create a new function which will accept a data also and it will otherwise here also you can add a object, means instead of creating, wait, I will create a new one. add existing address. And here you will have data, address data. And here instead of initialization value, data dot address ID, like this you will do. So you are initializing your form now with the value. So now you are creating a customer form, but with the value. Let me copy paste city, pin code, and address. Okay. Now, how many addresses you got in your GET API, that many time you need to call this line. This is the line which will add multiple addresses. So over here, for loop or for each on result dot what we are getting addresses. You are iterating on the addresses. We need to give any. Now here in your custom form, in your address, you need to push multiple addresses form with the value. Now we have created one function for that. So this dot, where was the get method? Customer address dot push. And what you need to push? This dot function add existing address. And here you will pass the data element. So what it will create? Whatever addresses you got from the API, you are creating a new address form with the value, and that you are pushing it to the customer address. Let's see if it is working, then we will see the code. Poonam, on click of add. Poonam, I think doesn't had it. We have to refresh this also. So Poonam don't address, I think. Let's click on Chetan. Hey, second time it is working. Why first time it is not working? See, first time I'm clicking on the edit, it's not populating over here. But when I click again, then see, these are Poonam address and these are Chetan address. Something is wrong. No, it's not breaking any code also. Patch value we did. Then let's clear the existing one, this dot customer address dot clear. So existing addresses will get clear. And before this also, this dot customer form, whole form I'm resetting. Reset. So we added customer detail. We are iterating on the addresses and we are pushing it. Add existing element. That's it. Why it is doing like this? Let's try it one more time. Something is wrong. What? Nothing is wrong over here also. Let's try to debug it. Edit. Now in address, you have multiple addresses. 4 address. Okay, it will go inside. You got your existing customer detail and you are pushing it. Okay. Now let's check the whole form, customer form, control, address. You got one form. Values is also there proper. Second, customer form, control, address, 2 got added. It's fine. Why it's not populating over here? It is wrong over here. Should work properly. Where push? Push is there, no? In customer address only we are pushing it, whatever you got. On click of add, it is working the same. In case of edit, why it is not working? When I'm clicking it, because of chain detection or what? Because whenever I'm clicking somewhere, then it is coming immediately. Let's try form update and validity. This dot customer form dot update value and validity. Because of zone.js or what I know. See, second time it is populating, but why first time? Let's try to create a signal and then try to change it so that your form will populate. It's edit done signal boolean false. Okay. And this value, I will just use it into the HTML to simply print it. And this we will change whenever our form has been properly initialized. And whenever your form is successfully initialized, we will change it to something else. So this dot is form done dot set. Oh. If it has to do with, but no, on click of add, it was working, right? So this should not cause it. Save. Oh, it was because of signal. Edit. How it is coming. So I think it needs UI is not. Okay, so sorry. Directly on click of add, we don't have any async API call, but on click of edit, we are making an API call, na? Asynchronous. So we need signal so that only UI will update. That's why. Understood all? Because API call, na? Here you are setting the reactive form, but your form won't update unless you have a signal. So now it is working fine. So Poonam, edit. So Poonam has 4 addresses that are coming. Chetan. Why Chetan is coming again empty? Okay, so this flag, we need to set it false first. Is found done dot set false, then we will make it true. So whenever you click on the edit, you are setting it false. Once you get the API call, then you are setting it true. Let's try it, edit. Yeah, now working properly. Okay. And in update again, same data you need to pass. Even if you add multiple address, that will go as it is. Existing address, you will go with customer ID. And let's quickly do that also. Where is our update API call? So update customer also, you can see same object it need. Save. Just a minute. Just like save, you will have update, copy, paste, update. Update, customer, dated. And this function, just like this, update. Okay. Let's check if update is working or not. So Poonam, or let's say Chetan. Omkar. Okay, Omkar has two addresses. Let's say I'm adding one more. Let's say office 2 in Jewadi, Pune. Okay. Let's edit on click of update now. So here you can see we got three addresses, one with existing data present, customer ID, address ID, and this is the new one. Continue. API call is breaking. Why? Okay, post method. Put, save. Okay. Edit. Office 2. On click of save. Continue. Customer updated. So update API call, you are passing the three addresses, one the existing one, and this is the new one. 13, 14. Address ID we didn't get. Let's try edit. Yeah. See, third address got added. Okay. Now, here you have customer and address. In database, you have two tables, one for storing customer and one for storing address. In delete API, it will delete first all the addresses and then customer data. So you don't need another API to delete customer, another API to delete customer. In a single API, it will delete customer also and all his multiple addresses also. Okay. So again, one more thing is like, let's say you want to delete one address. So you can do that by adding a button over here. Button, remove btn, danger. Okay. On click of remove address. And here you have to pass this index because this is multiple. Na? How you will identify which form you need to remove. So this I, you will pass it over here. Okay. And remove address. You are passing index over there. Now from your customer form address, you need to remove it. So this dot customer address, this is the get method. This dot customer address dot remove at method is there. And you want to pass the index over here. Save. Okay. Let's check it. Chetan. Now I want to delete this office one. On click of remove, let's add a debugger also. Debugger 0, 1, one index should it go remove. So we got one index and from customer address, currently we have 4 control. Now see, 3 controls are remaining. Office 1 we deleted. See that office 1 got removed. And then you can make your update API call. Update happens. So this remove you are doing is like only from the HTML you are removing it, your from data. You need to update it because on click of remove, you are not making the API call. Okay. If you open Chetan again, hey, wait. Office remove. We are passing 3 only. I think from the API side, I'm not handling that. I'm not handling that from the API side. Whatever object you are passing, that is only it is removing. One which is not there, I didn't take care of that. So it is not removing from API side. From your side, code is good. Okay. So whatever we removed it, that is not coming in your payload. But on API side, I'm not handling that. So in this case, now we add one more. Normally in API, they will have one more property over here in the nested one, action, add or remove. So if action is remove, you won't remove that address. You will pass it, but the property you will pass it like remove. Then API team will get to know ki we have to remove it like that. Okay. So this is what everything you have to do when it comes to FormArray. Those who are having more than 5 years of experience, just specific to Angular, you should by heart this. In machine test, they will ask you this also sometimes, ki implement FormArray. Take any example and implement it. Okay. So what we did, you should be familiar with this code. Okay. Clear all? Anyone having any doubt? Okay, give it a try. I know so much of things were there. But again, just try to write it down. Ki, yeah, what things are there, how you do it, what are the steps. First, what do you do in .ts, then what do you do in HTML? One by one thing you do, you will get to understand it.